Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I have 3 great pumpkin recipes for you. All right, if you're new here, hi, I'm Claire. Welcome, come on in, make yourselves comfortable. I spend a lot of time in the kitchen on this channel, so if you like this type of content, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. I absolutely love cooking with pumpkin, especially this time of year, but honestly, it's good all times of year. I have a ton of cans of pumpkin puree, and I thought I would share 3 recipes with you in case you are also picking up a ton of that this time of year. So today, these 3 recipes I'm going to share. Firstly, we're going to do a pumpkin gnocchi, which is super versatile, super savory and delicious. The second one we're going to do is a fluffy, tasty pumpkin cookie. Mine have chocolate chips in them, but I'll show you how you can customize them. And the last recipe I'm going to share with you is a pumpkin spice latte, but it uses real pumpkin puree, you guys. This is not a pumpkin spice latte that just has a little squirts of, syrup in it. This is the real deal pumpkin spice latte, so make sure you stay for that one. And with that, let's get started on our first recipe. We are going to do the gnocchi, and I'm having it for lunch. All right, only a couple ingredients in this, which is so nice and easy. We have our pumpkin. It's a 15-ounce can of pure pumpkin. We also have nutmeg. We have all-purpose flour, salt and pepper, and an egg. Very simple. So we're starting out with the flour. We're going to do 2.5 cups. You will need a little bit more than that for when you are kneading out your dough ball, so keep that in mind. But we're starting with 2.5 cups. And I'm going to make a little well in the center. And we are going to put our entire can of pumpkin. And of course, be sure you're using pumpkin puree and not pumpkin pie filling, because that would be gross. Now, I'm just eyeballing the salt, you guys, but you're going to need probably at least a teaspoon of salt. I'm also throwing in some pepper and just a pinch of nutmeg. Now, you could definitely get creative with this. If you wanted to add more flavors than that, you could. I wanted this to be kind of a nice, basic, sort of blank base for the sauce that I'm going to do. And I'm just folding this in with my hands until it gets to be this crumbly, shaggy dough. We are going to make another well with it, and then we are going to crack that egg right in the middle. And now I'm using my hands again to just turn this into a dough. And if you've made pasta before, then you will definitely note that this dough is much softer than a traditional pasta dough. And that's because that pumpkin is quite soft in there. So this is not going to get real firm. We're not going to refrigerate it or anything. Like, you're not going to form it into any fancy little shapes where it needs to be firm. So it's fine. And it's going to get nice and stretchy like this, couple minutes of kneading until it gets a little bit elastic. And then we're going to roll it out. Now, I know traditional gnocchi, it has a very distinct shape. And if you have one of those little wooden pasta boards, go for it. Make it the gnocchi shape. I don't have that. And, you probably don't either. So I'm just making them into ropes, and I'm using a bench scraper just to cut them into little delicious gnocchi nuggets. And I love how orange this is. It looks just fantastic. And you're going to want to dust those with a little bit of flour so they don't stick together. And there you go. Look how cute they are. And these only take about 2 minutes to boil. 2 to 3 minutes. So pop them in there. Now, I'm eating this just on my own for lunch today, so I did not need to make this massive amount of gnocchi. So I'm taking this ball, I'm wrapping it up. This will be good for a couple days in the fridge, and I can make it for my family at a later time. Oh, look how cute they are. They are seriously the perfect little fall treat. And of course, an absolute blank canvas. You can add any type of sauce to this. If you just want to grab a jar sauce or toast them with a little bit of butter, it's totally up to you. Today, for my lunch, I have just softened some onions in some olive oil, thrown in some rosemary from my garden, keeping it simple, a little bit of seasoned salt, and that's it. Easy peasy. Look how toasty they are. Delicious. And because I enjoy eating things that also look beautiful, I threw some fresh rosemary from the garden in there. And is that not the most adorably orange and deliciously comforting fall meal? Next, we are doing these nice fluffy cookies. We've got our can of pumpkin. You only need a cup of it though, so if you have another recipe to use, go for it. Butter, egg, sugar, flour, cinnamon, nutmeg. We also have some vanilla. We have some mini chocolate chips, but you could skip that part. You could swap it with any type of nut or, whatever your vibe, cinnamon chips, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. Starting out with flour, we are doing 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. To that, we're adding 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Those are quite easy to remember. And half a teaspoon of salt. Mix all that together and set it aside. Next, we have a stick of butter. It's not quite soft enough, so I threw it in my microwave for a second. Here is 1.5 cups of sugar. We're going to go ahead and just cream our softened butter with the sugar. And to that, we are going to add 1 egg and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. This is a pretty classic cookie style, although it almost kind of reminds me of a scone. It's pretty fluffy in the best way. And I think it's because of the pumpkin, because we're adding a whole cup of that beautiful orange pumpkin. Mix it on up. And then it is time to combine our dry ingredients into the wet. And I really just love the color that adding pumpkin to anything gives. You don't need to use any food coloring or anything. It is bright orange all on its own. And once we have a nice mixed wet batter, I'm going to throw in half of my bag of mini chocolate chips. I think cinnamon chips would be so good. Right when I started making it, I regretted picking chocolate chips, even though I love chocolate and pumpkin. It was a great combo. And now I'm using 2 spoons to make little balls. I need to buy a scoop. Every time I do this, I think, gosh, I need one of those little scoops, but I forget until I have to do it again. Now we're putting it in a 350-degree oven for 18 minutes. And seriously, these are so delicious to dip into a coffee. My kids absolutely love these. I make them every year. Sometimes I even do like a little glaze on the top, or cinnamon sugar on top is really good. They're quite versatile, actually, and oh, so fluffy. All right, and lastly, we have our pumpkin spice latte. You're going to need pumpkin. You're going to need brown sugar. You're going to need regular sugar, vanilla. We also have pumpkin pie spice. We have some whipped cream. We also have whole milk and some espresso, but you could just use really strong coffee if that's your vibe. This recipe is from the Pioneer Woman, and I'm so glad I found it. So we're starting out with 2 tablespoons of pumpkin. To that, we're adding 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of regular sugar. We also have a teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice and 1 tablespoon of water. And I'm just putting this over medium heat just for a couple minutes. It's just going to combine everything, soften that sugar up a little bit, just till it's kind of smooth. Now we're going to add a cup of milk. And also a teaspoon of vanilla. Now we're going to bring this to a simmer for like 4 or 5 minutes. You don't want it to like get all bubbly and foamy and, go all over your stove. So just keep an eye on it. Don't let it get out of control. Our goal is really just to make sure that everything is dissolved. You don't want anything to be chunky in there. Now we're going to let it cool down. And while we're doing that, I'm going to make my espresso. I prefer Cafe Bustelo. I love espresso, but if this is not your vibe, you could absolutely just use a strongly brewed cup of coffee. The recipe calls for 4 ounces. However, I'm going to make a little baby cup of coffee, a little baby latte. So I'm using 2 ounces of my favorite espresso. And I do have a frother, so if you have a frother, use it. However, I thought this was a cool idea to give a try. You put it into a jar and shake it until it gets a little layer of foam on it, which I think is a really clever way to kind of use what you have. Also, this is something you could make ahead and keep in your refrigerator, and you could make an iced latte, which would be so good. And now I'm just throwing my coffee in there with my milk, throwing some whipped cream on top, and obviously I had to use my little cauldron cup. Throw some pumpkin spice on there. Look how flippin' beautiful that is. Starbucks could never, okay? So good. I was really pleased with that. Thanks, Pioneer Woman. All right, you guys, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed these creative ways to use some of that canned pumpkin you've got laying around. Leave me a comment down below. Have you done any of these things with pumpkin before? What's your favorite thing to do with a can of pumpkin that isn't a pumpkin pie? I mean, we all know about that one, but there's lots of different ways you can use them. So I'd love to hear your suggestions. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.